Alright, so we're talking about World War Mars 3, the third entry in this insane series that's a mashup of military sci-fi, space politics, and some of the craziest aliens you've ever seen. If you're just jumping into this series now, you're in for a ride, but let me tell you, you better have read the first 2 books because this one, it's not here to hold your hand. It's like you got thrown into the deep end of chaos right from page 1, and there's no going back. Okay, so let's break this thing down. The plot, it's nonstop. Earth is falling apart, governments are at each other's throats, aliens are invading, and Mars has basically become one giant war zone. I mean, everyone's playing dirty here. You've got the Americans, the French, and these creepy alien species called the Faithful, and no one trusts anyone. It's like every alliance is on the verge of collapse, which just cranks up the tension. It's like every chapter is who's backstabbing who now? And honestly, it's amazing. It's chaotic, but it keeps you on edge. And speaking of trust issues, the politics in this book are intense. It's not just humans versus aliens. It's humans versus humans, aliens versus aliens, and then humans with aliens versus other aliens. It's all over the place. The French spaceship Charles de Gaulle, led by Colonel Aethon, makes this critical decision not to attack the Americans and instead joins forces with them to fight off the Seekers. Now, you'd think that's a good move, right? Wrong. Back on Earth, the French government is pissed because they're still trying to keep their alliance with Darnaud Juice, the alien who, by the way, gave them a fusion reactor. Yeah, that's right, full-on alien tech gift, and then they betray him. Classic humans, right? It's just one betrayal after another, and the French are basically like, you did what with the Americans? While Darnaud Juice is heading home thinking, I'm done with you guys. Now let's shift over to Mars. Mars is where all the big players are. We've got General Bradstreet, who at this point has probably aged 20 years in stress alone. The guy's just trying to keep his team alive. And things are not looking good. After barely surviving the last battle, they're licking their wounds, trying to scavenge what's left of their ships. And let me tell you, they are barely holding on. And the action in this book? Oh man, it is relentless. Every time you think things can't get worse, they do. When those seeker aliens show up, you know it's about to be a bloodbath. These are the kind of fights that'll have you on the edge of your seat. Marines in power armor, blasting away at insectoid aliens with energy rifles, orbital dogfights, massive space explosions. The pacing is fast. It's chaotic, but you never lose track of what's happening, which is impressive considering how much is going on. It's like watching a summer blockbuster play out on the page, only more brutal. But what's interesting is that the book doesn't rely on action alone. There's a lot of strategy involved too. Earth's forces are constantly trying to catch up with the aliens' tech. I mean, we're talking biomechanical ships, wormholes, fusion drives, and these futuristic gadgets that'll make your head spin. And humans? Yeah, they're struggling to reverse engineer this stuff just to stay in the fight. They've got the odds stacked against them the whole time. It makes every battle feel like a desperate scramble for survival. Like, you can just feel that pressure building. They're just trying to survive, and that really hits home. But let's be real here. This book has a lot going on. I mean, there are moments where it feels like you need a flowchart just to keep track of all the alliances, betrayals, and alien factions. It's cool, but it can get overwhelming. Between the humans, the Seekers, the Faithful, the Claw, the Aryan, the Blessed, who's on whose side again? The political subplots are interesting, but there are times when you might find yourself flipping back a few pages like, wait, what just happened? It's one of those books where you can't afford to zone out or you'll miss something. And then there's the dialogue. Oh boy. Look, I get it. It's military sci-fi, so you're going to get some cheesy one-liners. But sometimes it's like, all right, guys, we get it. You're tough. There are moments where the banter between the Marines gets a little too action movie for my taste, but hey, it's not a deal breaker. You're here for space battles, not deep philosophical conversations. One thing I really loved about this book is how it balances the personal stakes with the galactic stakes. It's not just about win the war. It's about surviving the next attack, getting the ship up and running, or just keeping the team together for one more day. Bradstreet, Adair, Dr. Morales, Sergeant Parker, they're all just trying to make it out alive, and you feel that desperation. The book really hammers in that feeling of, we might not make it. And it adds so much tension to every decision they make. It's not just about the fate of Mars. It's about whether these characters are going to live to see the next day. And speaking of high stakes, let's talk about the Monitor. This guy's a next-level villain. He's out here glassing planets just to prove a point. You've got the Seeker aliens, who are bad enough, but then you've got this guy combining whole alien species into a super army. He takes the Claw, these terrifying dinosaur-like ground forces, and teams them up with the Airy, this bird-like species with killer spacecraft, and now it's an unstoppable force. And the humans? Yeah, they're scrambling to defend themselves against what feels like an inevitable defeat. By the time you get to the end of the book, you're just like, how are they still alive? But that's where the book leaves you hanging. Is this the end of the series? The author ties up a lot of loose ends, but leaves just enough room for more. If this is the final entry, it's a solid close, but there's definitely potential for more if the author decides to go down that route. And there you have it. World War Mars 3 is military sci-fi on steroids. It's action-packed, intense, and relentless. If you're a fan of fast-paced space battles, political intrigue, and aliens that'll haunt your dreams, this is for you. It's not perfect, the plot can get overwhelming, and the dialogue can be cheesy. But man, it's one hell of a ride. If you're into stuff like The Expanse or Starship Troopers, this book delivers. And as always, if you like this review, click the like button. And if you haven't already, click right here to subscribe. See you in the next one. Burn bright and burn enough.